Hi, welcome to the SFCN Channel 17's pregame high school football show. Here we are, week 3 already. I'm your host, Ken Money, and I'm joined with
Freddie Woods. I'm the Maple Mountain correspondent. I'm here in place of Sam Higginson, who's on vacation or something.
He's out of town, and yeah, thanks for coming. And we have a really big week here. We're just 30 minutes away from kickoff of the Maple Mountain game. We do want to just talk just a quick minute. Normally we have the Spanish Fork and Maple Mountain game tonight that we're kind of previewing and getting ready for, but under kind of different circumstances, KJAZ broadcast the Spanish Fork's game last night live, so they played on a Thursday night in Orem at Timpanogos High School. Spanish Fork was victorious, and we kind of look forward to maybe talking a little bit more about that game before we get into the Maple Mountain game. So we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about Spanish Fork's win last night. And for the people that are not making it to the Mount Pleasant, to the Maple Mountain game, that's hard to say, maybe you could review with people how they could watch tonight's game.
Certainly. So as always, we do have options. If you're not going to the game, you can watch it on Channel 16 or 17. That's if you're in the Spanish Fork area. But if you're not, you can watch it on sfcn.org. There will be a link there. It's really easy to figure out. Or you can go to youtube.com/SpanishFork17.
So many great options. There's no reason not to stay up with the Golden Eagles and how they're doing.
That's right.
So we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, let's look into the Spanish Fork's victory last night as they won at Timpanogos in Orem. Hi, welcome back to our pregame show. We're just 27 minutes away from the kickoff of the Maple Mountain game. But before we talk more Maple Mountain, maybe let's kind of talk a little bit about Spanish Fork's win last night. They went to Orem, and they got a big win, and Spanish Fork's now 2-1.
Yeah, they are, and I think Coach Smith is pleased with how they're executing. They're getting rid of penalties, and he was just pleased with their performance, and they're gaining confidence as well.
Absolutely. That's really what the preseason is all about, cleaning it up. And it's really interesting, last night's game brought 2 rookie coaches for Spanish Fork and Timpanogos. And another interesting fact, I thought, is they both played at BYU. That's right. Daniel Trevort played at Payson High School, and Coach Smith was a Spanish Fork All-State player. They both went to BYU, and they were, interestingly enough, they were roommates on the road trips, and now here they are coaching each other in their inaugural season. And so it was a big game. Spanish Fork was favored, and Spanish Fork really had a lot of offense, and they started early moving the ball, and really looked to me like that there was really not much defense there coming their way. So they kind of imposed their will, as they played. But there were some big plays for Spanish Fork, which I thought were interesting. The 2 Funa brothers, which, they've got both of them playing defensive end. Mace, who was a 9th grader, had a big play, an interception, 14 years old. 14-year-old freshman, interception, took it back 15 yards for a touchdown.
Was that his second pick six in 2 weeks?
Two in a row. Yeah, pretty impressive. So not only, it was a game of big plays, and not only was that pick 6 by Mace Funa a big play, but Spanish Fork also had other big plays.
Oh yeah, how about Nate Kiesel finding Jackson Higginson, that's who it was, on the 80-yard streak down the sideline, and that kind of closed the game out, or at least kind of shut down the hope of Timpanogos a little bit. It
really did. They were trying to get back. They scored a couple touchdowns to kind of get back in the game, and then the offensive line, just great protection for Nate Kiesel. I think Jackson looked like maybe his 2nd or 3rd option. He sees him streaking down the right sideline, threw a perfect pass, caught it in stride in the end zone, and that was a big play for Spanish Fork. And their defense came up big when they needed to. But I'm not going to lie, just did not see an awful lot of offense coming. There's a lot of young players on both teams, and so they may be both teams to be reckoned with in the future for sure. But when we come back, we'll take a break, and we'll come back and talk to some of the coaches and players a little bit about games, week 3 of the season and how things are going and their expectations.
Welcome back, and thanks for watching the pregame show. We're here pretty excited for the kickoff tonight.
We're just, 27 minutes away from kickoff, and couldn't be more excited.
Can't wait. We're going to talk a little bit more about Spanish Fork football. We had the opportunity to sit down with Trevor Johnson this week, or Sam had the opportunity to talk with him. Trevor's on the offensive line and talked a little bit about what it's like protecting Nate Kiesel.
Yeah, and the challenge of blocking for a dual threat quarterback like Nate. He can run, he can block it and run, and it just makes it a little bit tougher for the offensive lineman. He talks about what that brings into the challenge. You just don't know if he's going to pull up and throw, or if all of a sudden you look over your quarter and he's streaking down the field and you got to get down to throw a block. So he talked a little bit about those challenges.
Let's take a look.
Trevor, you guys get week 1, got a big victory. Week 2, suffered a devastating loss, I guess, if you will. But it's all part of the preseason. Tell us this, you're going into your final game of the preseason. What do you guys have to do to make sure that you come out victorious in that final preseason game?
Well, we got to fire off the ball and make sure our pass protection is very, very solid. So, yeah.
You guys had a few breakdowns last week in terms of some blitz pickups, and they were really putting a lot of pressure on us and maybe expose some of the things you guys needed to work on as a team. I guess that's what preseason's for, and it's kind of nice to see that. I'm sure that you guys probably spent a lot of emphasis and time this week focusing on those types of situations.
Yes, we did. We did a lot of pass setting drills and to make sure we got down with the twists and the blitz pitch up and stuff like that. So,
tell us a little bit about what it's like to block for Nate Kiesel. Why don't you give us your idea of what it's like to block for a guy like Nate Kiesel who's going to run and throw?
I mean, you never really know because he's got both weapons on the ground and through the air. So you just got to really stay with your blocks and let him use you as his blocker so he can make a play.
How important do you think that the overall performance of the offensive line is going to be on the overall success of this season?
It's going to be crucial. I mean, our offensive line is stacked. We just got to execute.
Travers is just a big, strong offensive lineman, and he's a quarterback or running back. You can't have too many of those guys. Right. He looks like he fits right in. He's just got the build. And next, we want to talk a little bit with Braden Christensen. It was an interesting story for Spanish Fork, playing tight end, 6'4", big, strong kid. And interestingly, it's his first season ever to play football.
Wow.
He started on the basketball team. He's a good athlete, and they talked him into coming for a senior year to play football. And after 3 games, he's been a big contributor. He's made some big catches, blocking well on the running game, and let's take a look at some of the things that he had to say about the first 2 weeks of the season.
Braden, this is your first year back from football. You took a little bit of time off. Tell us a little bit about how that experience is coming back and jumping right into a varsity situation.
It's been kind of crazy. Like every play, I'm learning. I'm just doing my best to adapt, and it's been crazy.
So you are probably, what, 6'4", 6'5", somewhere in that neighborhood, probably, what, 220 pounds? I don't even know. I'm guessing just looking at you. You guys have some big guys at the tight end position. Is that something you guys are trying to do, is get length and size in that position?
Yeah, having that size and length and everything for that position, it really helps out a lot, especially when I'm going against safeties and linebackers that are not as tall as me. And so it's really good to have that stuff, and it's good that we have that on our team.
You can see that Braden's a big athletic tight end, a big target for Nate Kiesel. I'm sure he enjoys that and blocking, and he's going to be a big weapon on the offense as the season progresses.
Yep. We also had the opportunity to talk with Jess Barclay, who's a linebacker for Spanish Fork. Although he's a little undersized, he's a team captain, and boy, does he fly around the ball.
You watch any place where there's a tackle, he's either in the tackle or he's close.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he really is. He plays with reckless abandon.
So Sam talked a little bit about him. Sometimes with these interviews, we talk a lot about football and not enough about, other things in life. So.
All right, Jess, I'm going to ask you some questions. As a captain, you probably know more about your teammates than anybody. Who's the funniest guy on the team?
Oh, funniest guy on the team. That's a good question. Wade Staten, he's pretty funny. Joe is of Trujillo. He's good too. I'd have to say Braden Horan, though. He makes me giggle.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Braden Horan, I'm sure he keeps it PG as well, though, right?
Oh, well, of course. Yeah, that's how we do on the football field.
So tell me this, is the field position, last week we struggled with that a little bit in the first half. Seemed like our offense was getting the ball deep into their territory or into our own territory and having a tough time. Your defense was taking over, with 30 and 40-yard fields. Does that make a huge difference on a defensive output?
At first you think it kind of sucks, but on defense, you're not supposed to care where you're at on the field. You just have to stop them every chance you can. So, yeah.
So he likes to have fun, but I think Jess takes his responsibilities as a captain pretty seriously, and you can see that on the field. That's what a captain needs to be.
The coach's got to love that kind of player playing for him. Yeah, and then we had a chance to also talk with another new coach at Spanish Fork High School, first-year coach Jason Binks. An athlete at Spanish Fork High School, like many of the other coaches, comes from a really prominent Spanish Fork line of athletes. His brothers played at BYU, played baseball, and Jason is the special teams coach. And they talked a little bit about the Orem game, about punting, and really that defensive player became an offensive weapon by the way they punted. They've changed things up a little bit, kind of a rugby-style kicker where he's got the option after he takes the snap to roll around the side and see if it's open. He has the option to run the ball, and he picked up a big fourth down. It was like 4th and 12. He took off running, and the coach Binks, I think, was just about ready to go out and get him himself, and he got a first down. And he talks a little bit about what a weapon it is to have a good kicker on their defense.
Interesting stuff.
Well, we've been talking all year about the possibility of this fake. We have that rugby-style punt that's becoming popular. We've watched a lot of Utah use that, and we had a guy who could do it. We kind of gave him the, hey, if you see it, go ahead and do it. One of them, it was okay. You know, we had about a 4th and 5, something like that. But the other one, I got a little worried about. It was about 4th and 30, and he decided to take off. But hey, he saw it, made a good move on a kid, and got us the first down. Couldn't ask for anything more.
That's probably an opportunity as a coach where you kind of hate the guy a little bit for doing it on 4th and 30, but then love him when he gets it, huh?
Oh, yeah, I loved him. I hated him when he was about 15 yards in, when I thought he was going to get tackled, but then he made the move on the guy, and then I loved him after that, for sure.
Yeah, it's really fun to kind of get to know these first-year new coaches, you know, and you know he's nervous before the game, just like the players. It's 4th down and long, and his punter goes around the right side to kick and decides to go for it and makes him run and makes it by 1 yard, gets the first down.
Bold move.
Yes, keeps the drive alive, and Spanish Fork went on and scored really a big touchdown in the game. So it's just, that's the kind of things that'll make a coach great in his first season of coaching.
Yep. And what are we, 16 minutes away from kickoff now? We're going to take a short break. After we come back, we'll talk a little bit about Maple Mountain football.
Yeah, we're excited. We're ready for kickoff. Hey, welcome back to Channel 17's pregame kickoff show. We are just minutes away from the Maple Mountain kickoff of their game. And Maple Mountain coming into this game 2-0, 2 big wins against 2 really highly rated opponents.
Oh yeah, and the Corner Canyon game, let me tell you, I don't care if you're a Maple Mountain fan or any team's fan, that was a fun game to watch.
It was, and they, what, a 1-point win for Maple Mountain?
It was a 1-point win, happened in the 4th quarter. Jaron Hall took over the game, you know, and the defense set that up for him really nicely.
That's great, yeah. 8 seconds to go in the game, he throws a touchdown pass for the win, so.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we actually had the opportunity to talk to Harrison Casper this week, who is a running back turned wide receiver. So I had a chance to talk with him a little bit about his responsibilities and his role on the team.
Let's take a look.
You had a great catch to set up the winning touchdown. Tell us what was going through your mind as that play unfolded.
He told me my route, and I ran it, and then I thought I was wide open, so I caught it, and then I got hit pretty hard.
Okay.
But
tell us what Coach Burtonshaw's message was to you post-game after that exciting victory.
he was just proud of me that I caught it and had a good game. Yeah.
What are you expecting against North St. Pete this Friday?
Well, they're a good team, so I expect that they'll put up a fight, and we're going to have to play pretty hard.
Yeah, there's no question. Harrison Casper, a big part of the throw game for Maple Mountain. He's the second leading receiver as a junior. He's got 8 receptions already going into the 3rd game, and so I'm sure he's going to be a big target for Jaron Hall to keep an eye on.
Most definitely. He's a tough kid. He took a beating in that last game, actually. You know, took some hard hits, but just popped right up. So
not the biggest kid on the team.
No, but one of the toughest, maybe.
There you go.
So we also had the opportunity to talk with Nolan Nufe, who's well known on the team. He's an offensive lineman, kind of leads that group, and he protects Jaron Hall pretty well. He talked about his responsibilities on the offensive line, so let's hear about that.
Okay.
You guys played tough. Your offensive line, I think, won the battle in the trenches on Friday. How were you able to stay mentally tough throughout the night?
Just when someone false starts, you just got to get in their head and tell them that it's fine, because everybody makes mistakes and misses assignments. But second half, we just kept encouraging each other, and our run game started to pick up during the 4th quarter against them.
What's it like playing in front of Jaron Hall?
It's amazing. He's a great leader out there, and he keeps us all motivated. And even when he's down, he's never really down, actually. But when he's throwing interceptions, I make sure I'm getting in his head, and when I make mistakes, he's in mine.
Well, you know, Coach Burdenshaw's glad to have him back, especially where he's playing on offense and defensive lines. He's just well-spoken. Just looks like the kind of guy that brings confidence to the huddle. And he is one of the players that's being recruited big time by a lot of Division I programs. Good chance he'll be playing at the next level after this season.
And I would imagine, I would think it'd be pretty difficult protecting a dual-threat quarterback like Nate Kiesel.
Yes.
You know, Jaron Hall is similar in that way. He's a threat, you know, with his arm and with his legs.
Yeah,
so.
It's a challenge, but you know what? It's a bigger challenge for the defensive coordinator of the opposing team trying to stop somebody like Jaron Hall.
I also got the chance to talk with Jordan Larson, who knows the running back for Maple Mountain. And boy, he's a tough kid. Speaking of tough, you know, he's a short guy, but he's got a low center of gravity, and he just plows.
Seems to be the common denominator. We have a lot of smaller guys, but tough.
Yeah, he's got heart.
Must be the way they're coached up, and they're 2-0.
Yeah. What are you expecting this week against North St. Pete?
I'm expecting the same thing that we did last week against Corner Canyon, probably a little more, you know. And I think our line and QB1 is going to do really good this game.
The offense struggled last game a little bit, had some turnovers, plagued by some of those. Tell us what the coaches said at halftime to prepare you mentally for the second half.
They told us that we can't get down on ourselves and we have to keep going. We needed to come together as a team and just come out and beat towards Corner Canyon.
I talked to a couple of your teammates. They mentioned you as a team leader, as a senior, and as a leader that guys look up to. What do you feel like your responsibilities are to them?
My responsibilities are just keep them going and doing their thing, and I can't let them take a play off. I have to keep at them the whole time and just be a loud leader.
Jordan, another senior player, a captain that's another vocal leader on the team, and somebody that Coach Burtonshaw really relies on heavily, it sounds like.
Yeah, definitely. I also talked to Zach Maurer, who had a big play in that game against Corner Canyon. He had the safety to kind of start to put the game away, kind of inspired his teammates, I thought, and I asked him about that, and this was his response.
Well, you know, as you think about it, he got the safety, they win by 1 point. Essentially, they get 2 points for the safety, and that's the difference in margin of victory, so it was a big play.
Yep.
I think we responded great. We really took it to their offense. We played good. Our defense was doing real good. And every time we turned it over, we got it right back. So I'm pretty confident in our defense.
You had that safety, made a huge play in the end zone in the fourth quarter. What do you think that did for your team?
I think it really boosted their morale. They thought we were going to lose, and I think when I got that safety, it really boosted them up and got us back in the game.
Mm-hmm. I noticed visibly on the sidelines they were pumped up, they were stoked, and it looked like some hope came into them as you made that play. Moving on to next week, what are coaches telling you about the North St. Pete team, and what are you expecting from them?
We're expecting they have a real good running back. We're expecting to key on him, and I think we'll do good against him.
You just tell by the attitude of these players, Jordan, just ready to play another week, ready to go. It's fun to hear from 2 juniors, 2 seniors.
Yep.
Sounds like Maple Mountain's going to be stocked for the future. We got a lot of young players that are contributing, and they're ready for another big game tonight in Mount Pleasant.
Yep, and they're definitely well coached. Coach Burtonshaw had the opportunity to talk with him, and what a classy guy. You know, he's always a good interview, but he's always a great guy.
Do you feel like he always has time for you and your question? Yeah, he really is. He's impressive, and you can see why he's not a real loud, scream, rah-rah kind of guy, but you can just tell he has a respect of his team.
I think he's always proud of his team. He's also proud of his team and the strides they're making on offense and defense, and they're kind of becoming more confident. Guys are stepping up in their positions. So, we want to know how you're feeling about your team's performance last Friday night.
You know, I felt like it was a real gutsy performance to have, you know, some of the mistakes that we had in the first half and to see how the kids handled it in a tough situation. And I was really pleased with how they responded in the second half.
I'm curious to know what exactly you told them at halftime, because to me, they looked like a different team, especially in the fourth quarter.
You might not like this answer, but a whole lot of nothing. I felt like our game plan was good. We had the right things in place. We had just made mistakes. And so it really was just a few minor corrections, telling them to keep doing what they're doing, tell Jaron to keep throwing, he's fine, and we didn't really say anything else. I mean, we were done early.
Were the guys discouraged at halftime?
No, they weren't. I think they felt the same way. They felt like, yeah, we made some mistakes. We're still in the game, and if we quit making mistakes, we'll be just fine. And they really, even when I walked in the locker room, that's what it felt like as I got in there, was they were okay.
The way that they fought back, the way that they took over that game in the fourth quarter, what does that say about them as a team?
Hopefully we're just doing the right things and taking the right steps of progression if we try to get better all through the season. You know, the fourth quarter is that time that every coach wants to prepare for, try to get their guys to feel their best in the fourth quarter and take games away. And, you know, it's been great the last couple of weeks. We performed pretty well in the fourth.
Jaron made some pretty amazing plays with his arm and also with his feet, per usual. Are you starting to expect that kind of performance from him, or is he a guy that you never get used to?
You know, I think I don't know about expect as much as want. I mean, we want to see that from him. We want to see him take over a game and do those things that he can do and use his talents and have everybody else and all the plays go off of that. And so it's just fun to see that.
What offensive adjustments are you going to make for North St. Pete this Friday?
You know, they're really big up front, and they have some good players, and so we've really got to make sure we limit our mistakes early so we can not have to claw our way back into a game. And then I think, you know, just trying to make sure we get the ball to the right guys and in open space is always a good answer to that. So.
See, I thought that was pretty funny, him saying that he said a whole lot of nothing to his team at halftime. The way that they played in the fourth quarter, I really did think that they got yelled at or something, because they're determined to win. Their fight, their heart that was in them, it was just awesome.
It was a perfect opportunity for him to be an ego guy and say, well, I made some big changes and we end up winning by 1. But no, he's so honest and down to earth. No, I really didn't change anything. Right. And they came back and got a big win. So that was really interesting. So we're about 4 minutes and 20 seconds away from kickoff. And so we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll just wrap it up and it's time to get the word out. We're ready for it. If people want to watch the game, not going to be able to make it to Mount Pleasant, how can they watch the game?
So if they're in the area, they can watch it on channel 16 or 17 tonight. They can also go to youtube.com/SpanishFork17. They can also go to sfcn.org, so we've got lots of options.
There is no excuse not to watch this Maple Mountain game tonight on channel 17. Ready, we're just over 3 minutes away from kickoff. You can feel the excitement. Big game. A couple of challenges, it looks to me like, for Maple Mountain. They're coming into this game with 2 big wins, stepping down to play a 3A school, smaller, but it's traditionally a good 3A school. They'll come ready to play at home in Mount Pleasant. And so you worry about the tendency to maybe overlook this game because Maple Mountain has Springville, their big rival, next week. And so I really think that's where it's going to be a big help to have a senior quarterback who's been through these kind of situations before, keep his team focused. They got to focus on what's going on the field tonight, or they may come into a week 4 with a loss if they don't. So it is a big rivalry.
Yeah, let me tell you, that's not a game you want to overlook. First of all, Springville is 2-0. They're rolling. They're confident. But also that rivalry is very real, and that's something that both schools, I think, care a lot about. I'm from Springville, went to Maple Mountain High School in its first year, and so I experienced that rivalry, and it's fun.
So that's really what the coaches have got to work on before game, halftime. Focus on the situation here tonight. We'll play Springville next week. We'll get ready for them next week, and we'll preview that game next week as well.
So you're watching our pregame show. We're about to go to the game live, so don't go anywhere. But tell your family, tell your friends, tell
anybody. There's no
neighbors.
excuse. Get on the phone, and people should be watching this game because it's going to be so exciting. And if you can't make the hour-and-a-half drive down to Mount Pleasant, you can sit right in your family room and watch the game, and it's a great opportunity.
That's right. For those that are not in the area, they can watch online.
And channel 16 and 17 as well, broadcasting. Right. So I can't think of one excuse not to watch football. Can you?
That's right.
It's football, it's season, it's fall. You can feel it in the air. It's getting a little cooler at night, and it just gets me excited. I just can't wait for this kickoff.
Yep. So we're about ready. I'm actually on my way right now.
You need to get to the
Mount
field.
Pleasant, but I'll see you at halftime.
Okay, we'll see you at halftime, and join us for this game. We're ready to kick off in 2 minutes, and we'll see you next week in the pregame show for week 4 here on Spanish Fork 17.
Hey, we want to give a special thanks and a shout out to our sponsor for the high school pregame show right here on SFCN, to Salem Chevron and Burger King.